All right, Vinny, you've let me tease what you got. Somebody wrote an article that has upset you.
Yeah, Chris brought it to my attention this morning, Cleveland Clinic, so we'll talk about that whenever you want to talk about it. But it really...
The gist of it.
The gist of it is meat, if you look at it sideways, it will stop your heart by noon tomorrow.
All right, and let's just talk about that. First, I'll tell you about something that's near and dear to my heart. Bespoke Post. Selflessness is in this holiday season. Why buy someone an ugly sweater or your...
Bespoke Post. Themed boxes for guys that give a damn.
Get that gift, people. All right. What do we got? The article.
Yeah, Chris sent this morning, and it says, study reducing red meat intake can improve heart health. And then I went through the article, and they're trying to scare you 20 different ways against even looking at red meat. And usually what I do when I walk in here and what I do on my own podcast is I'll go, okay, Cleveland Clinic, I'm moving on. There are three universities where you can move on. Harvard, where they have a vegan in there taking money from Unilever. There's Cleveland Clinic, and there's Minnesota University, which is where Ansel Keys went. So any of these universities are trying to save face and saying that their vegan ways are the way to go. And I know I always sound like a conspiracy theorist, and I'm not. So when I was driving here and I said, I'm not going to just walk in and say, oh, Cleveland Clinic, dismiss it, So I went and looked into it. I read the rest of the article. They're stating that a substance called TMAO is what's could literally stop your heart before noon tomorrow is the way they were putting it. TMAO is Trimethylamine-N-oxide. And this stuff is found in greater numbers than in red meat, in soybeans, potatoes, pineapples, peanuts, cauliflower, which we love, and carrots. And so I looked at this and went, well, what the hell? And they said you can have fish. So I went, let me see how much of this TMAO is in fish. It actually fish has way more than red meat and way more than anything else on the list, with 1.7 grams per pound of fish. And then I started thinking, wait a minute. None of this is making sense. People are going to read this. I'm going to be tweeted this for the next 3 days, and the vegans are going to win again. So I wanted to get an expert on the phone. I called Nina Teicholz, who wrote the book Big Fat Surprise, which is a mega hit. Nina she knows every study inside and out and how it works. I called her. I said, Nina, TMAO. She goes, oh, it can actually reverse heart disease. It can stop a heart attack in its tracks if, in fact, you are getting a heart attack. So it's exactly the opposite. The headline and what you're reading in that article is exactly the opposite of the truth. And that's what drives me nuts. And the doctor who did this study, I want to bring his name up because I hate this asshole. Stanley Hazen, Dr. Stanley Hazen from the Cleveland Clinic. And by the way, he didn't even get this published in America. He had to go to Europe to get this published. It's almost like going to school in Mexico or something to get a degree. It just doesn't make sense. None of it made sense to me.
What? Quick question.
Sure.
I think a lot of people don't understand this about our society we're currently living in. We understand when they're writing stories about the president and things like that, these things are politicized, but they don't realize that almost everything is politicized. Right. So when they do some sort of environmental thing or some food thing or something, they all have a sort of political motor behind it, and it's steering it in the direction of the policies that they'd like enacted. Right. So I don't think generally people have that thought. They think, I'm going to read about nutrition. This is an article about nutrition. Who cares what side of the aisle the person's on? This person's a scientist, and they're going to give us data on this information. Almost everything has some sort of policy thing behind it or political push behind it. And that's unfortunately what we need to start looking into. Who wrote it? Who's paying for it? Who do they work for, and what's behind it? We do understand the R.J. Reynolds tobacco version of this. We understood the 80s version of these guys are cigarette companies, and they're going to hire their own scientists, and they're going to pay. Mm-hmm. So who paid for the study? Right. Oh, I see. Big Tobacco paid for the study. Now we got an issue. There's a version of that now for everything, and even the fluffy feel-good shit has something behind it as well.
Adam, it's so rampant that when I was doing my documentary, we finished at 3:30 in the morning 2 nights ago, me and Peter Pardini. And this thing will blow the lid off of all of this. As a matter of fact, we had so much incredible interviews there that we're now going to try to do a docuseries. We could do at least 10 more shows on the stuff we had left over because we were trying to keep this thing to 90 minutes. We could have made a 6-hour documentary just to show what Harvard's doing, what Walter Willett at Harvard's doing, and the money he's taken from Unilever, and where Cisco Foods fits into all this, and the billions of dollars that's spent on keeping us eating stuff that's going to kill us. And then the offshoots from that is the drug industries, which they don't want to see anyone get better. If people just lower the amount of carbohydrates, to give you an example, that they're eating, if they had type 1 diabetes, that's juvenile diabetes, that's the one you cannot control, that's the one you're born with, right? You can actually cut your diabetes, your insulin down by 2/3. Now, how do you think the insulin guys are going to feel about that if everybody could cut it down by 2/3? Their stock would go down. The politicians would not be happy. The money wouldn't be there. You can solve a problem, but it's not in anyone's best interest who's making money right now.
It is. It's criminal. And I say criminal because everything you know is just sort of in front of your face. Like you'll know it, you'll feel it. You know, Dr. Drew comes in here. Everyone I know, drop the carbs, drop the weight, energy goes up, feel better. We all get it. It happens universally, immediately to everybody.
Right.
So already you go, well, how could something that is causing me this kind of active weight loss and this energy gain and everything else, how come it? What do you mean it's bad for me? You know, when so much good comes immediately from it. Dr. Drew's been sitting next to me for the last year. He's on a full meat. He came in here just eating a yak. Like he literally, he's such an asshole. He comes in here with like a bucket of bacon and he just starts eating it in front of me. Because the thing that's so funny about Drew is when you say to him, don't eat pasta, eat beef, he goes, okay. He thinks his order was to eat beef in front of you all day, every day. Right. It's like, no. When you do lunch, eat beef and not pasta, not all day.
Right.
So he said he's never felt better. He's never been in better shape. His energy's never been better. And because he has a family history of like high cholesterol and stuff like that, he gets himself checked constantly to see what this is doing to his cholesterol, and it's going down. So we see it in front of us. I heard a study, or not even a study, but just a fact the other day, that the average man weighs 195 pounds, which I was like, okay, I weigh 195 pounds. The average woman, 168. That is heavy. That is not what women weighed a few years ago. 168, and I don't know what the chasm is between men and women, but I feel like it's shrinking.
It's closing down.
If you're getting... It's 168 and change. I mean, so women are walking around knocking on the door of 170 pounds. 170 pounds, when I was in high school, that's what a guard on the varsity football team weighed if you were scrappy enough. This is not a good sign. And you want to talk about long-term health issues and repercussions in a fucking world where it's click it or ticket and third-hand smoke nonstop. This isn't something we want to get on just a little bit?
Oh, we're so screwed already. And by the way, I want to go back to Dr. Drew for a second.
Average woman height, 5'4", basically 170.
Wow.
That's morbid obesity.
That's morbid obesity.
That's morbid obesity.
Well, where's the mayor? Where's the governor? Where's the president? Where's the politicians? Where is the discussion
at least a health issue
on this?
Addressed.
We cover that in the movie, too. But I want to make a point about Dr. Drew. When I came in here with you and Drew about 3.5 years ago, Drew was not really on board. He was kind of looking out of the corner of his eyes going, I don't know, maybe it's a little too much. And then to Drew's credit, he studied up. He kept asking questions. He kept studying. He kept looking into it. Drew is a hero in my movie. Wait till you see this. The guy has done a complete 180 on everything he thinks about me.
Yeah, I was in
no
it
longer
for a while.
I was looking forward to it, but no. Yeah, well, Drew did what everyone should do with every subject, which is my training and my instincts and my history say bad idea.
Right.
But Vinny is telling me to do it and to look into it, and I won't go talk to the hand or I know what I know, which is everyone's default setting, or you're not the boss of me. They go, okay, I shall investigate, and then I will find out information, and it turns out I was wrong, and I bettered myself for it.
Right.
I don't know why more people just don't have that sort of resting state of, why is it all I know what I know, or I know what's in my heart, or you're not the boss of me? Why aren't people like Dr. Drew go, all right, let me check it out.
And especially when you have nothing to show for it.
Right. All right. So when is the movie coming out?
We don't know. We finished it. We still need to get distribution. We're actually talking to people at some of the bigger studios right now, the Netflixes and the Amazons of the world and the whole thing. And I have an attorney on board, so we're looking at everything.
We're going to do some Eat Your Feelings. Gina's going to scuttle out and warm up her offering. I'm going to tell you about Castrol Edge.